Rebic, Rafa, tira, gol! Rafael Leao! Oggi segna Leo! La mia giornata è iniziata così! Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Fisher, back from a week's absence in which I was roasted by Torgrud when I was not in his presence, but you know. Joined once again by Maddie.
Yeah, I've replaced the number 2 spot, so AJ's going to have to fight to get this back.
Fight being the operative word. Stefano is with us as well. I think this is an unprecedented formation. Has it ever been just us three?
Sure I don't think it has. No. Yeah, I'll be the wild card entry this week. Looking forward to giving my thoughts this week on what was quite an interesting game.
It was. It's never dull, is it, being a Milan fan? I suppose that's one thing that you could say. So just to set the scene for the game that we're about to review, and we'll dive straight into it. Milan had won every game in February so far, including a derby comeback win over Inter that reopened the Scudetto race, Giroud getting a double in that one. We'd beaten Lazio 4-0 in the Cup, and it could have been more. A really convincing and comprehensive performance. Another double for Giroud in that game. Then we beat Sampdoria 1-0 at home last weekend. And it wasn't the most convincing performance, but also defensively, we were so resilient that it was like the result was never in doubt after the early goal. So the signs were really good, really good. We were defensively solid. We were scoring enough goals to win games. We'd gone back top of the table. And the next game on the horizon was to a team that had only won 3 games so far this season. Rock bottom, worst goal difference, shipping goals for fun, had just sacked a manager and put Davide Nicola in charge. And we didn't win. This is the Milan way, is it not? You know, I said in the chat at the time, it felt a bit like Benevento type thing, where if there was
it definitely did.
Any team that were going to drop points against them, it was going to be us, wasn't it? Everything handed to us on a silver platter. Like we were able to try and take advantage of Juve's draw against Torino in the derby on Friday night to really put them firmly out of any title contention. Put the pressure on Inter. They've got a tricky game against Sassuolo this evening. We're recording just before that. Put the pressure on Napoli as well. We didn't do it, you know. We'll come on to what it means from a psychological and a technical standpoint and everything in due course. But first of all, I guess we just talk about the incidents. Yet again, a lightning start. We got a goal inside the first 10 minutes.
Which has seemed to be like the thing lately. We score really fast and then just kind of die down a little bit. Sorry for interrupting your spiel.
You're right, it does, and it is good because in games like this and against Sampdoria, we know we're going to come up against teams that are scrapping for every point and are going to try and sit deep and make things difficult. Last season, we didn't find a way to break those teams down. We dropped a lot of points. This season, we thought we'd kind of turned a corner. But, you know, from there, I mean, I thought, I know you were out, Steph, but you've caught up on the game and stuff. I thought that with that early goal, that was going to settle the nerves and we'd be on our way strolling to a comprehensive victory. I think the players thought that too, and that might be part of the problem.
I don't know if the players think that, but we always struggle against the lower sides. It's been a thing for the past 3 seasons. Sorry, Steph, I'll let you go. He was talking to you.
Talking in general, just rambling out loud.
Rambling out loud. No, you're right. I think Maddie said about scoring quite early. What was the stat? I think Isaac mentioned it this morning. 5 goals this season that we've scored in the first 5 minutes. Yeah, because I can think back to this game. It was the one, obviously, Calabria's one early on against Atalanta. I think Giroud's might have been in the first 5 minutes against Roma, that penalty. But yeah, honestly, great start. But then what happens after that? And I think we have this issue that we're probably one of those sides that the longer it stays 1-0, the more likely that we're going to fuck something up or something's going to go wrong. I just don't think we have the mental composure certain times in games. And I've said it myself. I think our best way is to basically outscore, not outscore oppositions, but just add to your goal tally. You know, don't be complacent. Don't allow complacency to cut in a little bit. But I just think we're so good in attack, and we have to kind of allow ourselves to take advantage of teams now needing to attack us, obviously, to get a goal back into the game, that we kill them off on the counter-attack. We did that against Lazio. We do it in multiple games, but it's just somehow in this game here, we just didn't find that transition. But it's really disappointing because, 5 minutes into a game, if 1-0 up, I saw a notification box on my phone. I'm thinking this is a rout, easily 4 goals or something like that. And it's just a really surprising fixture, wasn't it?
I think that the first 15, 20 minutes, it looked like it was going to be a rout, and then they just got confidence and we lost it.
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, totally agree. It seems the best form of defence for us is attack, is to keep pinning the opposition back. I mean, we know that our way of playing is high intensity, it's pressing football, and it's fantastic to watch when it's in full flow, and when we need a goal can sometimes be to our detriment, I think, when we're asked to be a bit more pragmatic and we're asked to defend a lead, because the players get stuck between not knowing what to do. That being said, the quality of the opponent that we were playing, and obviously I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, because I actually think Salernitana were pretty good. They did not look like a bottom place side to me. I think Nicola's managed to instill a few ideas there within a few days, so props to him. And they actually look to have 2 pretty good centre forwards. But that side, everything was set up so nicely for us, and to get the early goal, I thought we would try and put them to the sword before half time. And as Maddie alluded to, the longer that you let them gain confidence, the longer that you, territorially, that against Sampdoria, for example, I wasn't too worried because we weren't ceding anything in our half at all. They couldn't really get out of the half, despite the fact we weren't scoring more and more. But with Salernitana, they started edging further and further towards our goal. We had a couple of hairy moments. There was the one that Mignon came for and was nearly punished, and then the one where I guess we were punished. Bonazzoli was the one who was picked out in our preview as being the one to watch, not just because he's the top scorer, but also because he knows the league. I don't know. I guess we've become so used to relying on a certain core of players that it feels like a bit of a sucker punch when they let us down. I'll pick out 3 in particular. Mignon has had a lot of praise in recent weeks. He saved us more points than he's cost us, but he wasn't at the races, He just wasn't. I don't know what to say. I don't want to accuse him of being overconfident, but I feel like that's what it was. He was darting off his line for stuff. He wasn't making the usual sort of clear-headed decisions that we've come to expect. Tomori got beaten for the second goal, which was a great header. And Tonali didn't have a good game either. So there's 3 players who were sort of under par on the night, and it becomes tough to win like that. I don't know. I'm just kind of going all over the place, rambling here, but it's tough to know what to do in a game like that.
I think with Mignon, it's quite weird, isn't it? I think the best performances we've seen from him have been in those big games. And you do see a level of intensity that he brings. I'm not saying he's complacent or anything like that, but it's almost as if you can tell he's fired up. Even by the way he catches balls and he just commands the area a bit more, forcefully. And it just seemed that one of these games here, he's just when he's shaky, and that's sort of him, not just him, other players as well that you're saying that we rely upon. Does that then elude itself down to the rest of the players who usually have 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10 performances, and all of a sudden now everyone's looking a bit shaky. And I'm not saying that they're to blame for this drop of points, but I do think players like Mignon, players like Tomori, players like Tonali do set the example, I think, in a very mental perspective for the rest of the side to follow. And it's just one of them ones where they didn't have the game that they, when you can have one of them having a bad game, but when a few of them making mistakes, and then you've got the rest of the side as well, which is very confidence-based, it just doesn't look, and communicate well on the pitch.
It also just shows we think that our depth is very strong. It just shows that we do have weak links when our top 3 players are not performing.
It's hard, isn't it? Because there were not loads of players who were ready to step up and be match winners. I think we're going to struggle if teams continue to basically put 2 or 3 men on Leal. We're going to need another outlet at some point. I think bringing Rebic on, he wasn't exactly the most polished performance. Obviously, he got his first goal back from injury.
An amazing goal. I should have called for a Rebic screamer last week, and I didn't do it.
And then it wouldn't have happened. So,
yeah, right.
But yeah, that was one of the few positive notes. But I think that was sort of the right change to make at the right time. And it is tough. And I did find myself thinking at one point, and you can shout me down on this if I was wrong, But I was thinking at one point, it would be nice to be able to bring Ibra off the bench, just to shout at them a little bit, just to get them clicking again. I know we lean on him a bit. We've been guilty of doing that, particularly last season. This season, we haven't done it as much. Our record's actually better without him across multiple key statistics. But you sometimes can't really replicate the presence and bringing someone on with such authority. And I think that would have done us some good. But obviously, that's that.
I think that's kind of like a double-edged sword. If we would have brought him on, he's still injured though. He wasn't on the bench. Okay, no. Because we look worse when he's on, and when we were 1-0 down or 2-1 down, I don't think that Rebic goal may have happened because everyone would have been trying to play the ball to Ibra.
That could very well be. No guarantees that it would have been a good performance from Ibra either, but I don't know why. I just found myself thinking that.
Yeah,
maybe when it was tied.
Yeah, I think I had that feeling as well. I think there's a game where you could just throw someone off the bench, come off the bench for Ibra. At the same time, Giroud gets the knockdown for the Rebic goal, wasn't it? So if Riber's on the pitch positionally, does that? This is all what ifs, for example. But I think personally, you can't be conceding 2 goals to Salernitana or to Spezia, for example, in these weak games that we're playing against, and expect to. You can score as many goals as you want. Of course you can. I don't think this is, for me personally, an attack issue. I think this is a defensive issue, and it's lapses in concentration. It's players maybe not taking the game seriously, and then all of a sudden you get these individual errors start racking up, and just positionally, players out Romagnoli.
Did that fall on Pioli?
No, I think it's down to the player. I think it's down to the players, and Pioli can set them up in the right ways possible. I'm sure you can't tell them to, it's down to them. They have the freedom of movement on the pitch. But when you see him getting stretched, it's so many times. The first goal that we conceded, I obviously only watched the extended highlights. That was a counter-attack, I'm guessing, of our corner for us. Was that? I'm thinking that was a counter-attack from our corner. So, positionally, we always get dragged and stretched, and that's where we get punished.
The first goal was Mike mistake.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, wasn't it?
Yeah. The Falcon punch and then fucking...
Teo tried his best with that, didn't he, to be fair? That would have been impressive if he'd have somehow cut that out. I'd have given him another $1 million on his salary if he'd have managed to stop that going in. But yeah, it wasn't good. And the warning signs were there because I think this is what I'm trying to say earlier with the contrast to the Sampdoria game is that, okay, we only scored 1 goal and it was frustrating that we weren't 2 or 3 up by half time, but at least we had control. We lost control of this game, and that cannot happen. Salernitana might have had a new manager bounce. They might have been buzzing and wanting to impress, and they really might think that they've still got a chance of staying up. Nicola's come in and roused the troops and stuff, and that might be their best home performance of the season, for all we know. They came into the back of it 2 unbeaten. I think they've drawn their last 2 games against, I want to say, Spezia and Genoa. So there was some signs, I guess, albeit against weaker opponents, that they know how to be resolute. And they gave themselves a footing in the game. And you're always, while there's only a goal in it, you're always going to be susceptible to that. And we know that better than anybody else. I'm just looking at our defensive record here. We've conceded comfortably the most goals of any team inside the top 4. And for me, I think if we can hold opponents to 0 goals scored or 1 goal scored, let's say, we've got a very good chance of winning any game. The problem with us is we either have a clean sheet or we concede twice. There's no in between there, and it becomes very hard to score 3 goals to win a game. So we need to find a way just to turn the tap on, tap off. Don't know which way it would be. Just stop the flow, when we're rattled, and just settle down a little bit. Because the Sassuolo game where they turned it around on us, conceded 3 there. The Spezia game where we were a goal up, and again we just didn't manage it well enough. And obviously we were robbed a little bit in that one as well. But yeah, we need to find some kind of setting where it's bend, don't break, because it's going to be tough for any team to score 3 goals away from home and win games. You'd think, if anyone can do it, it's us, but it doesn't always necessarily work that way. So you got to give yourself a better chance of winning than that.
But I also think it's a mentality thing, like what Steph was talking about. Don't take these sides seriously.
Yeah,
I'm not in a position where I'm willing to question how much we want it. I just don't think that would be fair because I saw so many people saying, "Oh, the players weren't bothered about this game."
They didn't look bothered.
I just think it was the execution this time. If anything, they looked too bothered. They were sloppy. They made mistakes. Menyan was trying too hard.
This was our strongest starting 11 that we could have possibly fielded.
Yeah, it probably was. To be fair. Definitely.
And it was. We look like this is one of our worst games of the season that we've looked.
The thing that annoyed me the most was, okay, you get to half-time and it's 1-1. We still got 45 minutes to go out there and win that game against a team that are, 19 places below us in the table. And again, I don't mean that in an arrogant way. It's just that's where we're at after 20-odd games of the season. And we didn't put any kind of stamp on it in the first 15 minutes. I thought if we could make it very clear up until the hour mark that there was only one team that was going to win the game, we'd eventually find a way. And then to concede when we did inside the final 20, it then became clear that we were only going to get a point at most out of it. Yet we still equalised with plenty of time left on the clock, and then we didn't create a dangerous opportunity after that. So it's really strange. And I'm not, as just saying earlier, I'm not in a position where I'm going to question the heart of this team because they showed it in the derby when they came from behind, when other teams I think would have crumbled in that situation. They put Lazio to the sword, a bit crap, whatever. We showed that we can grind out the wins against Sampdoria. But yeah, we've fallen at a mental hurdle. And I mean, I'm going to put this out there as a question. Is this the difference between title winning teams and non-title winning teams?
100%. But getting a draw as a result is a difference between finishing in the top four and finishing outside of the top four.
Yeah.
What, instead of a loss, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just finding a way still to get something from the game. I mean, I say the unbeaten run continues. I mean, it's only since Spezia, but
Yeah. I still think, I agree with the whole title contender sort of thing. You need to win this game. Like, it's just ridiculous to think you drop points to the bottom place side. I still think, you need to beat the bottom 10 sides home and away if you want to be in the top four, because it's that competitive.
Mm-hmm.
But especially if we're going to win the league, these are points we'll never get back. And especially as Inter's form fixture lists get a bit more easier and simpler, and we get those harder games, we'll be looking back at this one and going, "Oh, we dropped 2 points there." I think you're right in a sense that it's a bit in the way with did the players want it and that sort of stuff. I think that Milan are aside, and you might kind of think I'm wrong about this, but like we don't enjoy being in the driver's seat, like as in top of the league and that. I think we enjoy on the catch-up perspective. We see the freedom to basically play the game without pressure. Well, we're not a title contender anyway, but we're just kind of there and about. And all of a sudden, once we're top of the table, I don't know, sometimes we buckle, we fold, we don't play with the fluidity, the freedom that makes us what we are. Like I think back to that game last season, I know Torino were awful, but like a 7-0 game. When was the last time any of us saw a 7-0 game with Milan, or even like 6-0, 5-0? Well, 5-0 maybe sometimes, but like 6 and 7-0. It's like, we just killed them.
After a 3-0 win at Juve as well, like that.
But
was
also, does that fall on Pioli for not giving them the right mindset?
I listened to his
that's like a psychological thing.
His pre-match press conference couldn't have been further from that. He was saying this is going to be a really complicated game. The players need to know that this is a team that are fighting. They've got a new manager. They've actually not been that bad at home. They're going to be eager to impress. I took confidence from his words, thinking he's going to be hammering this home to the players that this is going to be another really hard 3 points to get. And he's
saying that he may not be conveying the message to the team properly.
Maybe not.
And I'm not saying like I like Pioli a lot. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate,
Yeah.
But there's a new devil's advocate on the website for everyone to read. If you wanted to do that, that'd be great. Thank you. Cheers, Maddie.
Yeah, I mean, from someone like you who I don't play professional football, but when I play Mondays at 8-a-side, there's a level of intensity that you might hold or someone else might, that might have on that pitch. And it's up to you as an individual to drill it into your head. If you can't get the best out of yourself and treat every game like it's a final, and I know that's quite hard to do over a 38-game season, but you have to do it when you want to be in the title race. And it's what you want to do and as an individual. Do you want to be in this and be a winner and, don't take this game for granted, and earn good money. Don't take this game don't take the piss. But then if you got a few players that are like that, I don't think it's the job of a manager to get every single player to basically be able to switch on for every game of the season. That's down sometimes to the individual.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I get what you mean, that the coach should, seep in the emphasis to, treat this like a final. But then he's also trying to tell them to play fluid, play with freedom, play with intensity, but also confidence. Because you don't want to go too much on it, because then you're like, oh shit, we're going to be nervous and we're going to, quite erratic with our passing and our shooting and stuff like that. So there's a fine line between what purely, can and should do, to then the players to take that on and obviously deliver that on the pitch.
It's funny because you mentioned before about how we're better as a chasing side than we are in the driver's seat, and I totally agree with that. And I think media/fan narrative has a lot to do with that as well, because all you hear about when we've taken first spot back from Inter in that, with beating Sampdoria, is that this is a team that are young, hungry, fearless. They've got a point to prove. They want to win their first trophies. Pioli is a master tactician. He's getting the best out of the squad. He's raising the value of players. Now the narrative has switched after that result to this team are too immature. They don't have enough experience. The young players are going to let them down because they're too inconsistent. Could do with making your mind up on that one, whoever it is. Have we not got a balanced enough squad? Is that it? Or, are we just going to have to accept some growing pains as part of this process and realise that we're maybe not ready to win the league just yet? Because all I keep hearing is 1 week we're going to win the league and the next the squad's not ready to do it. It's getting frustrating.
That's what that's exactly what I said on the pod last week. I was like, if we don't win the league this year, I'm not going to be devastated, because this team is not we're
not built for it.
League winning
not the
quality.
Finished article yet either. That's right. The idea.
In 2 years, 3 years, when we should be competing for the league, I'll start to get disappointed. But right now, the challenge is top 4. The stretch goal is to win the league or win a cup.
I quite liked Pioli's comments where he said that he's now sort of switched away from saying Scudetto's not our target, top 4. He now just says our objective is to better our points total from last year and see where that leaves us. And I think that's a solid objective, because it doesn't put too much pressure on mentioning the S word, as they're calling it. And also it doesn't set an unambitious goal of being we're inside the top 4, we're above the dotted line. That's all that matters. So I think that does have to be the target now, and we'll see what happens. I mean, everyone's still got tough games to go, but if you look at our calendar, you can't even talk about stuff on paper after a game like that, can you? But that's what people do. They look ahead at the fixture list and realise that teams around us have more games against each other. I want to read out this stat before it slips my mind, but here's record against the top 7 Serie A teams. We have 18 points from 27 available so far this season. So 18 points from the 9 games we've played against teams in the top 7, which is 66.7% points return. Inter have 14 of 30 available, so that is 46.7%. So we're much better against other top 7 teams at the moment. We're going at a better rate. So then from 8th to 20th, so the rest of the league, we have 38 points out of 51, which is 74.5%. Doesn't sound terrible. Doesn't sound awful. Inter, 40 points from 42 available, which is 95.2%.
That is exactly what I was talking about at the beginning of the week in the chat when I said you win the title from beating teams outside. I said outside of the top 4, but outside of the top 7 in this case.
Yeah. No, you're bang on, because at the end of the day, 3 points are 3 points. We can beat Inter one weekend and then we lose to Spezia. It doesn't mean not that it's gone. Though that motivation or whatever is mathematically you've I don't want to use the F word, but you have you've mucked it up. So it's and I think the frustrating part is, I think you're right, Ollie. I think it's are we the article that's going to win the league? This team has been molded, low financial costs, etc. No, we're not. But at the same time, there are going to be some slip ups along the way. But do I expect that to come against a bottom of the side table? or against like a Spezia, for example. I know you can say like, oh, we should have won that game, and but like it's happened, and we've dropped points against these sides, and that's the frustrating part. I accept it when it happens against Sassuolo or Fiorentina because they had Vlahovic and Sassuolo just had a good game, and they have some good players. But when you're losing against these sides in the bottom five, it is absolutely frustrating. I don't know. I can't like bear to watch the highlights again because I just lose my mind because these are like basic levels of if every player in the starting 11 actually just needs to have like 6.5 games out of 10, we win it comfortably. But then something's gone awry there.
Yeah, and that leads us nicely into tops and flops, actually. So thank you for that. But no, I mean, I woke up this morning, I had a sinking feeling in my stomach, like remembering that we'd fucked it last night. And that's just, I mean, I know that's the trials and tribulations of being a football fan, and it's totally out of our control. But at the same time, it's like, wow, it's same old us,
This gives me hope for next weekend that Everton can take points off of City. So
there's absolutely no correlation between the two, but I'll let you have it.
Top of the table, bottom of the table.
I will say quickly though, before we get into tops and flops, I think we're the sort of side where we drop points to Salernitana, to Spezia, and I don't look at that, and I'm not going to jump off the wagon and go like, we completely mucked it up and did that for the league and stuff, because I still think we're that sort of side that can, those last 5 games of the season when we play like Hellas Verona, Lazio, Fiorentina, Atalanta, and Sassuolo, we're a sort of side that can probably win all 5 of those games because we like to dig in like that, and probably the chips might be down at that point and we can step up and we can muck in. But it's so annoying the fact that we can do that and then we balls up against games like that, like last night, and it's just, that's the bit that drills me. It's like we know we can actually beat all 19 teams in this league, but it's quite maybe that's a bit of a hard.
But we don't.
Expect that.
But we don't.
We don't. No, but then
we don't do it twice. It's and also like Jan. Yeah, we can do it once. Jan said in the chat, didn't he? He said, "How would you feel if we end this round of games still top?" i.e., implying that that Inter and Napoli also slip up. And we were all sort of torn between being happy that we've kept top spot and it proves that other teams can slip up as well, and also just like punching ourselves for being in this position and we've dropped points that would have made everything a lot more comfortable at the moment. That's kind of where we're at. Yeah. We know that there's another gear to go into with this team, and until we do it, then we're going to act a bit spoiled, aren't we, I suppose. But anyway, tops and flops. Appreciate you didn't watch this live, Stefano, so we'll take the lead on this, I guess, and you can chip in with anything that you might have picked up. I'm going to say top, and there's not an abundance of players to choose from. I'm going to say top Messias. I actually thought that this was a bright game from him. We saw him against Sampdoria tucking in off the right and almost playing more as an attacking midfielder with Diaz, then shifting over to the left to facilitate more build-up play with Leao. This time he kind of took up a position in between the centre-back and left-back for Salernitana, and he caused some damage with that run down the middle. Teo, nice run, feed, lovely finish. And overall, he looked like the most dangerous player for us, to be honest, while Leao was getting double, sometimes triple-teamed on the other flank, and Brahim was having another one of his long COVID games, I'm now just going to call them. Messias was the one who can hold his head up, so I'm going to say him.
For top? I'm going to say Rebic because he scored the 30-yard banger, which I thought got deflected until after I saw the replay.
So did I. I tweeted that it got deflected and then got a load of pelters for it, but it did look like it got deflected because the keeper didn't move. Good shout. And also, I will say, I was swearing at Rebic not long before that because he massively overcooked a cross that went out for a goal kick. And I'm like, when is it going to click for this guy, man? That's his first goal back from injury. He will be an important resource if that gets him firing. Steph?
Yeah, it's probably going to have to be like Messias or Rebic. To maybe get off the fence, I'll probably go maybe Teo for the assist. I love it when he just runs into in the middle of the park. He's probably not one of his best games anyway, but I still think like he's one of those players that can create something out of nothing. And when you see him just drive into the pitch, and to be honest, that through ball that he gives to Messias, he doesn't have much to do. It's just literally a nice slot in, tapping goal. It's perfection there. So I'm going to give it to Teo.
Yeah, good shout. Flop. Take your pick, really, innit? Now, I'm going to steer away from Tonali because I don't think he was awful. I don't think he was a match costing. Yeah. And also he's allowed a little bit of a a game where he's not as on it because he's become the leader of the midfield at 21 years old. And frankly, we might actually be expecting a bit too much of him still. And also he had that tweak of his groin, and I think he should have come off after that. I think he played then the next 10 minutes just a little bit scared. I'm not saying it directly led to anything, but yeah, stay away from him. And I'm going to have to say Menyan. It's between him and Tomori, because I think Tomori got beaten too easily for the second header. But then the error from Mignon, which was one of two very notable ones, it wasn't his most inspired performance by any means. And it did come after a week where there was a lot of talk about how we've already forgotten about Donnarumma, how he's got a better save percentage, how he's better with the ball at his feet and everything. And it's like we could have really just used a normal performance from Mike. It didn't happen. So unfortunately, I have to give it to him this week. Maddie?
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Steph?
Yeah, I think because I've tweeted quite a lot about him, talking about him. He has to get like the France #1 spot. If you see how Hugo Lloris is doing for Tottenham, and you think how the hell was Mike not even the first team contender there? But you talk about that, and then he drops an absolute stinker. So it's kind of like it's disappointment. I think that's the expectation. We hold him to a high standard, and he has a floppish game like that. And I think we look back and we think Donnarumma did have games like this, to be honest, and maybe I kind of thought we'd walk away from that and have a layer of consistency with someone like Mignon. He'll always give you 6 or 7 out of 10 games, maybe not 9 out of 10. Sometimes you might get that, but at least a 6. But this is maybe like a 4 out of 10 performance, 3 out of 10. So it's a bit shambolic, and it cost us the game. I would say as well, Giroud, it's disappointing. Like, not to put him as a flop, but it's disappointing that he's not getting goals away from home. And I would have this was the perfect scenario. A game, bottom against side table, get some goals under your locker to sort of like kill that curse, but you didn't get that, so kind of annoying.
Yeah, it was annoying. I was going to back him actually as part of a bet, because I thought this can't go on forever. Like, he's scoring plenty of goals at home, he's getting himself in the right positions, and this is a back line that's leaking a lot of goals. But there you go, it's what it is. We've got to hope for better, haven't we? We've got to hope for better on Friday night. I didn't like playing on a Saturday night, to be honest, and now we're playing on a Friday evening. So this is either going to make our weekend or ruin it. The stakes are pretty high here for this one. So we've got Udinese at home. I'm now going to have to look up some stats for them. I should have done my research, but we drew with them earlier in the season, 1-1, and it was a pretty lethargic performance, I think it would be fair to say, where we were rescued by another late goal. Udinese are currently hovering just above the relegation zone, really. I didn't realise that after a fairly solid start to the season, where they got themselves inside the top half after 8 games, they've slowly been drifting further and further down. And they now find themselves 3 points above the drop. That might have changed by the time this goes out. Lost their last game 4-0 against Hellas Verona. They actually play Lazio tonight. So we'll know. So they've got 1 day less rest than us. I suppose that's one thing to factor in. But yeah, they had an impressive recent 2-0 win against Torino. Drew 0-0 with Genoa. I mean, they're really up and down team here. They're either capable of scoring hatfuls of goals or getting hammered. I mean, they lost 6-2 against Atalanta after they'd won 4-0 away at Cagliari. So that pretty much sums up their season to a T there. But yeah,
they give us so much trouble, though. Much trouble.
They do. I don't like this. It feels like even going back years to sort of the Montella days, and before that, they were always a tricky opponent, especially at home, it seems, for some reason. We do seem to struggle to deal with them at home. We drew with them last year at home, and it took a late Kessie penalty, I want to say, if my memory serves.
I just remember the game when Donnarumma just did the back pass, or the pass straight to the Udinese player, and they scored in the first 5 minutes.
Wasn't that Sampdoria?
That was Sampdoria, yeah.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
I thought Udinese scored. Maybe we had an own goal.
90+7 penalty got us a point last season at home.
That's right,
So, that's why I remember.
when what's his name? Is it Stiger Larsson?
Stiger Larsson, yeah, put his arm out like that. That was daft. But that Beccao always scores against us as well, centre half. So we've got to keep an eye on him. Do you know what? Like, I think if we'd have took care of business yesterday, I would have said, okay, we're going to be okay here. This isn't going to be a walk in the park, but I don't think we'll have a problem. I think we're kind of over the whole. But now we've had our winning streak snapped, I actually just don't think that this is going to be straightforward at all. And especially with Udinese being so Jekyll and Hyde, at least if we knew they were always going to put out a similar kind of performance and it'd be up to us then to find a way to beat them, I'd feel a bit more confident because we'd know the levels that were required. But on their day, they seem to be quite a tough team to play against. And tonight they've got danger men as well. They've got danger men. I really like Beto. And I think AJ called me out on that recently, but he's got a good goal scoring record, And I'm not saying that he should be our centre forward for the future or anything like that, because that would be a bold claim to make. But he's definitely useful for a player like Udinese at this point. Molina scored a few. Deulofeu, of course, is there. Pereira. Those two players in particular will have. They both seem to have good games against us, and obviously Deulofeu will have a point to prove because he basically been begging for a move back to Milan since his loan spell, and we never bit on it really. How are we feeling about this one, chaps?
It is going to be another game like this past weekend or yesterday. It's still Sunday. I forgot that it's not Monday, but I think we're going to get all 3 points though. Clean sheet, 1-0. Goal in the first 10 minutes.
I'd take that at this point. Another Sampdoria style game would do me. We're at the point of the season now where I said this at a similar time last season. Points are the only currency. You're not able to cash in performances. We just need points. We need to find a way to, like Inter were when they were on that incredible run to end the season and wrap up the Scudetto at a canter. Really, we need to get that back. Where we know that an early goal is giving us a chance of winning any game. You only get prizes for points. You don't get anything for possession. Steph.
Found it quite interesting actually. I'll check that Verona game. They had 21 shots with Udinese. Yeah, obviously they lost 4-0, but like 6 on target. So they're not completely that scoreline. Deceives to the eye a little bit. But when you look at that team and Beto and Deulofeu and a few players there, Pablo Mari on loan from Arsenal. These aren't. Once again, like I can't honestly expect some of those players who had such bad games against Salernitana, Mignon, Tomori, Tonali, for example. I can't expect them to have another bad game like that. I think they just got one of them in them, maybe every month or maybe even every couple of months. I just think they won't do that again. I think we'll comfortably beat Udinese, even though there is a bit of historic form to go against that opinion. I just think we're going to react. Not to say like we're going to batter them like 4-0 or stuff like that. I just think it'll be like a 3-1 or something like that. A convincing win with fluid football. Hopefully kill them apart. Home fans there. Look at their side. It's just not much where I can look at that and go like, oh, that's a dangerous thing. Maybe set pieces with the 3 centre backs, but I don't know. I'm thinking it's a convincing win. But I think Benacer's suspended for this game, isn't he? I've made a note. He is. Yeah. Yes. So that will be maybe that's an interesting one. Maybe because now forces Pioli's hand that he has only 2 options. He's going to have to play Tonali, and he'll probably play him for 90 minutes because he's suspended for the Coppa Italia first leg against Inter, so he'll get 90 minutes in him. And Kessie will probably start alongside him. But you need to see good games from Brahim Diaz, and you see good games from Leao. Needs to start adding to those stats, a bit more. Maybe he was a bit quiet in that last game. But yeah, I'm expecting a big performance against Udinese.
We need a better center attacking mid than Brahim. He just is not the answer.
Lightweight, I think would be the nicest way to say it. We thought that he sort of got over that slump in form, because he did well off the bench against Inter. He did well in the win over Lazio, but then
maybe he's a player who's supposed to come off the bench because he's quick.
Yeah,
he can make cuts and stuff, and when defenses are tired, he can exploit them. But when they're fresh, he's just not cutting it.
I don't think he's like to give up on him. I mean, I don't want to be like, he's dead, because I've done that before in the past and it's come back to bite me in the arse. But obviously the Leao video last week. But like, I don't want to give up on a player like him. But at the same time, I think you're right. We do need another option. We need someone. And maybe it might have been a mistake to not have Adley back here, for this season. But then obviously he's getting good development in France. But to have another option, someone who's a bit more, a bit more better at the sort of passing range, like an Adley, would have been nice to have this season, because when it ain't clicking for Diaz, it's evident. And it was good to see like Rebic kind of be played in that sort of centre attacking midfield position, because that's the thing that I think a lot of fans have asked for, Rebic and Leao to play together. So that might not be a bad shout going forward.
Yeah, I actually did read something saying that Pioli's thinking about playing Rebic as a 10 in that game. I don't think he'll do it. I honestly don't. But see, Brahim's not got an assist since Salernitana at home, and he's not got a goal since Spezia away in September. That's the most important thing. He can have good performances, and the media can praise him and say things look like they're getting into gear for him again. I think he needs something on the score sheet as well, just to show that he's back in form. So I wouldn't give up on him, and I think that having Adley around for next season will only be a benefit. There's not so much weight on his shoulders then, because it's an awful lot of weight to bear when you're in your early 20s and you're at a big club. It'd be interesting to see what happens with that. I'll add my Udinese prediction at this point. We've gone 1-0 Maddie, 3-1 Steph. I'll go 2-0, somewhere sort of down the middle. I do think we'll win, and I also don't think if we were to keep a clean sheet in this next game, it's like magically our defence is fixed. That's the frustrating thing, is that we need to string together clean sheets. We can't have one game where we have lapses and then start saying, well, this is what you get. I'm hoping for a response. I don't think that the players will let any complacency seep in at all. And sometimes when we're riled up, when we've got a point to prove, that's when we produce our best performances. So let's hope that's the case. Talking points, new name for it. Just decided to bring it in for this week. I was debating what to call it, but
just another thing for Oliver to talk about.
Yeah, should have called it conscious of time. That would have been better. I just basically picked out some stuff that I thought would be good to talk about away from actual on-field stuff. The first thing is there was a report that came out during the week basically saying it would take a financial package of 90 million euros to keep Frank Kessie around. That was worked out on the basis that he wants 8 million net per year, which works out 16 mil per year pre-tax over 5 years, plus an agent commission gets you to 90 million euros. Chaps, are you happy that we're just walking away and saying no?
I wish we would have gotten money for him, but he's not going to hold the club ransom.
Mm-hmm. Big, isn't it? I mean, like, people just said, just pay him the extra whatever it is and keep him around. Don't lose him for free. I don't think people understand the kind of financial commitment that is involved in big renewals.
But we could, it's a gamble, but we could give him a staggered contract where he makes X amount per year and it grows each year, and then try and sell him.
And he says no because he wants the 8 million now.
Yeah.
He'd probably go to the market in that case. He wants it on his terms. People saying renew and sell, but that's a risky business because is he proving himself to be an 8 million player at the moment? No.
Yeah, you risk that he can't agree a contract with someone else, like Castillejo.
Exactly.
Gigio slipped into free agency for a while, didn't he? Before he got his deal with PSG, so that was quite funny. Steph, what do you think?
Yeah, walk away. We can tell a sort of player that should be on this sort of money, and he ain't that. It's not to say he's a bad player. He's an excessive price for what he is and what he can be. And I think personally, I think his ceiling is probably around what he was like last season, which was great. But at the same time, is even that worth 8 mil a season? Scoring a lot of penalties, fantastic, monstrous performances physically wise. He's a great player. When he's playing as a good player, there's consistency issues there. But I think you need to walk away with that sort of money he's asking for. It's unrealistic, and it's definitely an issue if you sign him on to shift that player. We've seen it too many times on other clubs in the past. Mezozo at Arsenal, even Aubameyang at Arsenal. You can't shift the contracts if he's not doing good, or even if you want to sell him on. It's gonna there's a reason why there's clubs after him right now who's going to willing to pay the money, because they're not paying a transfer fee. No one is going to come in and go, all right, here's 50 mil for Kessie, and we're also going to pay him the same amount of money you're paying him. It's just, you're looking at like a like needle in the haystack sort of club to do that, especially in these sort of like financial times. So I think we need to
Spurs.
Away.
Funnily enough, Spurs were that team who were willing to do a deal in January, as multiple sources have reported, but the player didn't want to.
Yeah.
He didn't want to go mid-season.
Yeah, he's a fucking snake, man. That pisses me off.
But then I think Kessie thinks that wasn't that a better club.
Yeah, probably. Wasn't that a player transfer, player swap, not money?
Well, there's some saying that they offered players as part of the negotiation, and it never got anywhere because Kessie, didn't want to leave. And there was some saying that I think there was a journalist close to Spurs who was saying they offered 15 million for him in January to try and beat the competition because they don't think they can outbid PSG and stuff from a contract point of view, which is fair dues. I don't know if we'll ever know the inside story on that. I know we've all got our opinions on how Kessie and his agent have handled the whole renewal saga. Di Marzio basically said he said his stuff at the Olympics, where he promised to resolve his contract and stay. His agent sat down for a meeting with the club. What was an initial request of around 8 million went up to 9, and we said, well, 6.5 is our best offer, and we think it's a good offer, and I think it's a bloody good offer.
I think it's a good offer.
9 million euros a year is what you pay a match-winning striker, somebody who decides games in your favour, either way. You don't pay that for a defensive midfielder. Otherwise, you've got to pay Tonali the same, because that's where we're heading with that. You pay
Tonali more.
It moves the entire needle in the wrong direction for us as a club. So I think we're totally right to walk away. And I wanted to mention the 90 million thing because I think some people don't understand how big an amount is involved, especially when you start talking about agent commission and stuff. Yeah. It's big money.
And the club pays their taxes. It's not like their taxes come after. That'd be what actually 14, 15 million a season. That we
it's close to 15 million basically, because he doesn't qualify.
That's ridiculous.
It's mental. It's big money.
I will say as well, like with the whole like if we were going to get that swap deal done, say like Ndombele came in or Lo Celso, the players we were rumored to maybe get in conversation from Tottenham. I would like to remind people that remember when we signed Castillejo and we shifted Bacca, I think it was, to Villarreal. And it was kind of in the same summer, we didn't spend as much money on Castillejo because we gave him Bacca. We got rid of an asset who was earning a lot of money for us to bring someone in who probably thought was going to add something to this squad. And now he's in that same position where we can't shift his contract. So like, just because you get a player back, like we may not even get a player that we want or need. It doesn't mean that you're actually winning. Sometimes the best win is just to sort of hit the reset button, walk away. He's a problem child. And then, you build your squad numerically, the right players that fit the schema, on a sort of economic standpoint.
Yeah, I'm just looking here at Ndombele's net salary.
His wages are ridiculous.
Yeah, a couple of reports basically saying he earns in the 8 million net range. So it's like you're going to replace Kessie with someone who would cost the same in salary. And
it's that London increase or that EPL increase,
Gotta love the London pay rise. On the subject of midfielders, the other talking point, a couple of journalists said throughout the week that purely if we do get Renato Sanchez in, and we're going to welcome back Yassine Adli and Tommaso Pobega from their respective loan spells, and Frank Kessie is going to be going out the door on a free transfer, Pioli will think about switching to a 4-3-3. Obviously, Brahim Diaz has had his struggles. We seem to have... Well, it looks like on paper we're going to have good depth in the midfield going into next season, but mostly defensive and box-to-box midfielders. Adli can play 10, obviously, as we know, but he can also play box-to-box, so you can make an argument that he'd fit a 4-3-3 pretty well. What do we think? Are we at the point now where we need to start thinking about a formation change, or is this just white noise and realistically we're just going to sort of stick with it as it is? Adli is a 10, Renato in for Kessie.
That's that again.
He's asking, if we're going to go to if we should go to a 4-3-3 if Renato Sanchez comes in, Adli, Pobega come back on loan, and Kessie obviously walks. We have a lot of depth in midfield. Should we go to a 4-3-3?
If we have a good right winger.
Bang. That's the point. Yeah, that's for me. I would agree with that. I think either way, if you stick with the 4-2-3-1, I would personally like to see an attacking midfielder come in. and someone different in addition to Adley coming in. I just kind of would like someone who can maybe, we spoke about Roman Fiver, but someone like him who can play as a right winger or an attacking midfielder. But I think if we definitely shift to a 4-3-3 as a go-to formation, we 100% need a right winger, and like a traditional right winger, someone like Liao, but on the right side, someone who can take on their man easily. Yeah, we know
because having
we know
three
our feelings.
midfield gives you a bit more cover, doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah, and also you just need a bit of variety because those three midfielders are going to be a bit more coverage. There's less of that sort of dynamic player behind the striker, so you're expecting more from that right winger to contribute goals and assists and shots on target, etc. So I do think like we'd have to go in and get someone, and that would probably cost have to be good through good recruitment. Otherwise, it can cost a lot of money.
Well, I mean, yeah, good players do cost big money. That's one thing that we are going to learn when we have to take that next step in our project, and it doesn't become just let's finish top 4. It becomes we need to reinvest these revenues and win trophies now. Noah Lang's one that keeps being mentioned, and Steven Bergwijn got linked as well. As players who can play left or right wing that might suggest that we'll switch to a 4-3-3, but not too sure. We'll see if there's any more credibility on that. And obviously, all this is based around the idea of us signing Renato Sanchez, so that might not even happen yet.
It's going to happen.
Feels like it, doesn't it? Feels like him and Botman are pretty good, but we'll find a way to mess it up just like we do on the pitch. I'd be very happy with Renato Sanchez, but people keep pointing to his injury record and saying that should avert us from any kind of investment. I understand that, but it's only a problem when it becomes a problem, innit? Like, you can't say we're not signing a player because what if he gets injured? That's not really the way that you can do things, is it? But yeah, we'll see. Next one then. So we've got 4 players that are currently on loan, and I wanted to just remind myself of the figures that are involved for each. So we've got Brahim Diaz, who's currently on a 2-year loan from Real Madrid. The buyout option on him is 22 million. The buyback is 27 million in favour of Real Madrid. We've got Alessandro Florenzi on loan from Roma, option to buy 4.5 mil. Junior Messias on loan with option to buy from Crotone, 5.4 million option on him. And then Bakayoko's on a 2-year loan with an option to buy for 15 million. And there's some rumours that could become an obligation to buy if he makes a certain amount of appearances. And that's why he's not playing at the moment. So those are the 4. Who at the moment would you keep? Who would you let go? And would you terminate Bakayoko's loan early, for example?
I would keep Bakayoko on loan. There's no reason to terminate his loan. He's a depth player. I would keep Florenzi. I think that he's good depth and he's helped out the team. Hasn't been too much of a liability. He's had his ups and downs, as everyone has. Mm-hmm. And I would negotiate Brahim's price down.
And trigger it this summer?
No.
Wait
maybe
until
next
2020. Yeah.
Probably wait till next January.
Okay, interesting. Baka, if there is a thing with him getting an X amount of appearances to trigger something, then I would say end it early because there's no point. He was brought in because the African Cup of Nations, we're losing 2 centre midfielders his position. That's now been and gone. And even if there is something in that truth to that, he just isn't getting a game because he isn't better than the 3 other players that we have in that position right now at the club. And to be honest, he just doesn't look convincing. And I don't think he should get a spot even when Pobega comes back or, Yassine Adli or Renato Sanchez comes in, when. So yeah, I just thought, Bakayoko, I would say terminate it in the summer. It's just not a thing that's probably not worked in hindsight now. Messias, I think with 5.4 mil, I don't know. I'm a bit on the fence. I want to see how he finishes, statistically. He's probably 3rd on my list on the whole sort of keeping him at the club. I actually like Florenzi, and I think for 4.5 mil, what he gives you with, experience. He's a good player to have in the squad, or, always in and around fit. I would take him the option for 4.5 mil. We can probably negotiate that down as well to maybe like 3 mil. And Diaz is one I would probably look to negotiate this summer with Real Madrid, because if his stock isn't high, we can probably get that figure lower. So then, similar things happen to Tonali here. Like well, here you go. Here's the evidence of his stock not being high. We managed to get that price down, and all of a sudden, his next season he explodes, and now Brescia are like, oh, for fuck's sake, like we could have gotten.
There was also Tonali was not going to want to play for anybody else.
We were helped
we
by that.
Yeah, we were, and I think Diaz might actually probably think of that, similar situation there. He's comfortable with his scenario here. He likes him and Teo Hernandez are like brothers. I'm sure Cassier will be here for another year as well, so it's a third brother. So I think we can hammer that one now and get that a bit cheaper.
I think that we should take Macias' option. I forgot I didn't talk about him. He's our best winger.
Oh.
Salamaker should go back to Belgium.
On about selling him to the Bundesliga or something. Brahim Diaz, I would keep. We've basically got him on trial until 2023, and then we can decide what we want to do. Of course, there is the risk that he explodes next season. And,
it's not going to happen.
And
this is his second season with us.
It is, but in a weird way, this is also his second senior season because he didn't get many senior minutes at Man City, nor did he get many at Real Madrid. So it was almost like his first season in senior football last year with us. And towards the end of the season, we saw a lot of bright signs, enough for us to want him back for 2 years and to agree an option that's over 20 million.
Real Madrid were probably also hoping like this guy's 5'1", not literally 5'1", but Messi's short. This guy can dribble. Messi can dribble. Maybe something could happen, and that's not going to happen. Let's be real. Like he's not going to be a world-class player.
The thing is, I guess, with the 2-year loan, and hats off to Maldini for this, we don't have to decide on that yet.
Yeah,
we can see where he's at. Of course, there's the risk that he does really well next season, and we just make a €5 million development fee because they trigger their buyback and stuff. But as we've said many a time on here, I don't think he's a Real Madrid caliber player. I don't think that they're going to be absolutely gutted if we put 22 million in their accounts for they're talking about lining up next season with Mbappe as well as Benzema and Vinicius. Where's the space for Brahim Diaz in that team?
But
Asensio
if he's not a Real Madrid caliber player, should he be an AC Milan caliber player?
I
mean, we are a bit below.
We're in different. We're in different tangents, though, isn't it? It's not.
We have.
We can't.
We have goals.
Also, Real Madrid are a team that builds their entire philosophy around signing and developing world-class superstars that are ready-made. Our project is more based around we will sign potentially world-class talents and help them develop. We're sort of in the preliminary stage of that, whereas they just sign anybody they want. They're getting the best player in the world on a free in the summer, and they were willing to pay 100 million for him last summer. So I'm just mental.
Saying,
we're in a completely different world to them.
But if we want to strive to be the best, we should not take hand-me-downs from clubs.
Like Tomori. What a mistake that was.
Tomori and Brahim are way different players. Tomori's good.
I do have question marks about whether Brahim has the physical makeup to ever truly cut it. I would consider moving him out to the wing and see if we can just get a bit more out of him there, where at least we can use his dribbling and his low centre of gravity in isolation with the fullback, because it's so easy just to sit a number 6 on him now and shadow play him for the entire game, and that's it. He's out of the game. He didn't get a minute. Anyway, Brahim, basically wait and see. We don't have to make a decision on that yet. But I can understand the merits of trying to bring forward a negotiation. He'd have to show a little bit more for me, though. This is going to be controversial. 4.5 million for a 30 who will turn 31. I wouldn't sign Florenzi permanently. I just think we've got Pierre Kalulu, who is a very capable backup right back. And people can say, well, Florenzi can also play central midfield. Well, he's not gonna. And also, when we moved him to left back, he didn't have a stinker against Sampdoria, but there were signs for me that he couldn't do it against anyone better. When Candreva skinned him on the inside, for example, he's been good. He's been solid. He's been dependable. He's got a good free kick. I just don't think that. I think we could use that money better. I don't think it's critical that we sign him. So as things stand, I would let go of him, and I would maybe divert that money towards finding a new backup left back. For example,
I was saying we just spent that money on
Fode Ballatore, yeah.
I don't even want to say his name. Like, yeah, so like I think he's trash, man. I don't like him. I think he's trash. Like, it's horrible because that he's trash, basically. So there's context on how much money that is, and to most football clubs, it's a drop in the ocean. And I think with Florenzi, you do get a lot more good than you get a bit of bad. And for 4.5 mil, we can probably even negotiate that down because Roma is just like a chaotic club to deal with anyway. Then they'll probably just be like, take them off our books, 3 mil, we'll take that. That is nothing. Like, that is really nothing. We've spent, we just signed Lazetic for like around that money as well. We don't even know what his ceiling is. To get someone you're going to get decent performances out of, maybe like 5 or 6 out of 10 performances in the season, you can cover multiple positions. I personally think it's a no-brainer, and then you can then focus on other positions that require a bit more attention to. But I get your points there. But the whole Diaz thing, I believe also, like, if you can buy on a low and like sell on a high sort of perspective, it financially makes sense. And I think his stock right now, we've seen it before with Leao, we've seen it before other players. Their third season usually seems to be the one where they kind of have that explosion. So maybe we might regret it next season if we don't deal with it this summer and go, you know what, he's not really had the best of times, and you've just signed Mbappe, so maybe we can sort of get this done for like 12, 15 million euros and call it a day. So I do think we have to take opportunities in the market when we can, and the timing's right. So
yeah.
Sassuolo scored, by the way.
Oh, did they? Depends also how much belief we have in him. If Maldini and Massara, they can put on the facade like his stock's low, we'll give you a bit less money. It depends how firmly they believe he is our number 10 of the future. If they think deep down this is our guy, we just need to give him a bit, like they did with Leao, rejected offers from Dortmund in the summer because they believed that it was coming. Then you've got to do it. You've got to do it. You've got to act ahead of time and take advantage of that. But they maybe only brought him in anticipating him being a backup for the number 10 role, and we didn't manage to get another number 10 in. So all of a sudden we've had to adapt our game around Brahim, and he's not really delivered. And we might just be like, we're going to have Adley in that position next season. Sorry, mate. And we don't want to pay the money to sign a backup. I don't know. That nothing decided yet. I think that's the point. I guess separates what's that expression? Separates the wheat from the chaff. Does this last sort of 15 games of the season? So we'll see where we're after that. And then Messias, I wouldn't buy either. Now I know that sounds weird, but I would anticipate, I would hope that we sign another right winger this summer, and then I would have Salamakers as a backup still, or rotating in, and then Messias is 30. He's going to be 31 next season.
Who's he on loan from?
Crotone,
yeah.
We could easily just be like, we'll give you 2 million. They'd be like, 2
Maybe.
million? Oh my God.
Maybe that's when you start talking about if you can do a real cut price deal, then get him in. Obviously, it's helpful to have a body and stuff like that.
He scored more goals than Salamakers has scored his entire time here.
That's
in a half a season.
How
many goals has Salamakers scored?
Yeah, but I mean, you can't just judge everything on goals. I suppose
goals get you points.
They got us a point. It got us a point at Salernitana yesterday.
Yeah. He
also left Calabria critically exposed down the right side, and Ribery had a field day on him.
Yeah. Did you see Salamakers in the derby? He left Calabria exposed the entire first half.
I'm not going to argue with that. Yeah, we need some investment on the right side, and then Bakayoko. We don't trust him. Pioli doesn't trust Bakayoko. It's clear to me. Like, there's been games where he's brought on Krunic in a deeper role instead of playing Bakayoko, which is madness. If there is a risk of that option turning into an obligation, then terminate the loan now. Just do it now, mid-season. Say sorry, it's not really worth.
God, I feel so bad for Bakayoko. I like him a lot, but he's shit on since he left Monaco originally.
No room for sentimentality in football, is there?
Yeah, we have to care about ourselves,
Right.
Also, I don't think it's a coincidence that he's done nothing since he left us the first time. He only left us because we couldn't pay 35 million to sign him outright, which seems like an astronomical sum now. But he's since been back to Monaco, been to Napoli, didn't pull up any trees, let's say. I was excited to have him back because I thought it would bring out the best version of him again. It just hasn't worked. I think he needs a 4-3-3 or something. And then you start to think, if we change formation, do we give him another season and play him in front of the defence?
We're going to have so many mids next season, there's no point.
It's going to be great. We can just field like a 4-5-1, where all the five are central midfielders. 4-6.
I will say this, guys. Honestly, when you look at the figures as well, just like Maddie's saying, about like not taking on Diaz, for example, it's 22 mil there if we buy him outright with the figures right now. Macias is 5.4 mil. You're just near enough 30 mil. If you don't sign those players, you can get a very good, maybe right winger for that 30 mil. So I kind of will be like, I'm either you go for like the numerical depth, or you go, you know what, we're going to be cutthroat and be like, no, go for that quality. Like maybe 30 mil might get you I don't know, like a Noah Lang, for example, like someone, a difference maker. I kind of like, I'm a bit on the fence with that one. I do feel like there is a strategy to that, but then I don't know. Then you open yourselves up to less players in the squad, but then have you got money elsewhere to spend to get a backup option in that position? I do think there's an interesting take on the figures there.
We should at least keep Brahim till the end of his loan. But I don't think
because we spent money on the loan in it, so
right.
I'll do a couple of questions and then we'll wrap up, boys.
Because you're conscious of time.
No, I'm unconscious of time. It's a Sunday evening. It's a bit weird, I'm just kind of drifting through the day at the moment. Anyway, Christian Espinoza asks, what do you think Milan's summer transfer budget will be, presuming we finish in the top 4?
Open war chest. No, I wish.
Yeah, blank check.
Didn't Sky News come out and say that we were going to have a blank check for the summer?
They basically said there is no financial limit to what we're willing to spend. It's just that every signing has to be approved by Elliot. Sorry.
Which tells me that if like Holland wants to come play for Milan, then we can make it happen.
Are you drinking at the moment?
Got a nice glass of moonshine here.
Yeah, I thought so. I would love to see that, mate. I would love to share your optimism, but I think our wage structure is going to get blown out the water by that one. I honestly, I'm kind of along that line of thinking. I don't think we have a fixed summer transfer budget as people make out. There might be a limit via FFP that makes an obvious backstop in terms of we can't go above 100 million, otherwise UEFA are going to shaft us for it. But I think that it might be that we can sign 60 million worth of players, but each player that we invest in has to be someone that is good for the project, and it has to be approved at all levels. I think that's one thing that's why we've waited for Botman, because everybody agrees he's the guy. We're not going to panic sign Japhet Tanganga. Same with Renato Sanchez, perhaps. We're moving ahead of time because these are players that everybody top to bottom agrees with. That being said, I wouldn't be surprised to see us spend in and around the same that we spent last summer, around 70 million, to be honest with you. Get those two over the line for maybe a combined 50 million, Renato and Botman, that is. And then we'll have some money left over to spend on an attacker. And then if we manage to get any sales done, then it may free things up.
We need a striker, though.
Might be Belotti.
I don't think he's the answer. Like, I will happily take him because he is proven to score goals in this league, but I don't think he's a long-term answer. But you never know. He could come and then score 30 goals next season. And then I'd be eating my words.
AJ would just be...
I think AJ would quit.
He'd have to resign from his position.
Definitely.
I'm going to say like 70 mil, I reckon, as well. I think, you're right. About 50 around that figure for the two Lille players. And then maybe a little bit extra, obviously, depends if we can obviously finally shift Castiel and his wages off the books. Obviously, we're factoring in that we haven't got Romagnoli's wages on the books anymore and Kessie's wage. And maybe, I don't know. I think who else in the squad is going to leave to allow us to maybe gain some money. The Ibra situation might be quite interesting as well. CS. Even if they stay or go, I think it's... I don't think it's a difference. I do think like there is another signing in there, though. The two little players, I think there's one more. But free transfer for Belotti, of course. I think that's the right answer. But
besides the two Lille players, I do feel like we're going to bring in like a heavy striker.
Heavy as in big.
Heavy as in
Sort of
like overweight,
Mitro-
like Higuain when he was
like
at Napoli.
Mitrovic, who I saw firsthand yesterday, and that guy is an absolute unit. He's
No,
absolutely huge.
heavy like a big name.
No,
You reckon?
Not
I don't
like
think so.
Jonathan
a
David.
big name, but like I think that they're going to spend some money on a striker.
Nah.
We need to at some point, because if we don't invest in a striker this summer, then we absolutely have to next summer, because you'll have then a 37-year-old Giroud and I don't know, what will it be, like a 41-year-old Ibra. So we
Ibra's
absolutely
not
need
coming back.
No, probably
He
not.
is not.
So the investment needs to happen at some point.
Right.
It's just whether we do it now or whether we
Unless
do it.
Belotti comes, then we really have bought ourselves a little bit more time. But a striker is not a position that you want to continue to buy yourself time with.
No, that's true,
You know?
especially when rivals are making moves to kind of
Right.
Vlahovic being,
I think
they're set then for the next however many years.
Well, he hasn't
I
scored in
think
352 minutes.
He's a flop.
Susan.
Susan.
I think with the whole Giroud, Susan Vlahovic, I think with the whole Giroud thing, because his contract's up until not this summer, the summer after. I think at that point we'll then walk away from him. And at that point, obviously, Ibra, even if he gets a 1 year renewal, which I've got my own opinions about this summer, that story has ended with those two strikers. And I think we get Belotti on a free this summer, and then the following, obviously, it was that summer 2023. We then look to get that striker signing because we've already fleshed out the other positions in the squad. But yeah,
we need
also
to go for the attack to get younger.
To be said, I don't want the team to come out and be like, we have 150 million to spend, because
it's stupid.
Yeah, start charging us up the ass for players.
Exactly. Like I think FFP and the climate of COVID, etc., is going to dictate how much we have to spend. I would love to think we have a war chest, but realistically, I think it's going to be about 70 mil.
Yeah. I mean, that's a shit ton of money, but in today's day, it's not that much.
No.
Spot on. Michael Gambino, would you give Lazetic a look in the upcoming games? Too much has been asked of Giroud with Ibra being out for what be a month. Wanted to mention on Lazetic, he's currently undergoing his own individual training program to get up to condition. Now that to me suggests that we've got plans to use him. If he wasn't on this individual program to get right up to speed, then I think it's a sign that we're planning to use him, basically. As in, like, when we throw him in there, we know that he's ready to go. Otherwise, you just give him until the end of the season to adapt, to get up to the levels and stuff. But we're taking him aside to try and get him there quickly. So, yeah, I think we will see some of him.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's worth if we're only winning 1-0, because if they score, then... There's
been times, hasn't there, like that we were 4-0 up against Lazio in the Cup, and I thought that'd be a good time to throw him on there. But you've got to be careful, and you've got to pick the right situations for young players to be thrown into. I remember Daniel Maldini making his debut, being thrown on for a corner in the last minute against Verona. It's like, I think it was Verona. Oh, it's like, what are you doing? That's a terrible time to give the kid his debut. He's going to be on 30 seconds.
Wasn't Maldini pissed?
Probably, yeah.
Pissed?
Yeah.
That's what the news says.
I've got a lot of questions about transfer budget. Someone asking if we should play Daniel Maldini in the attacking midfielder position. We seem to seem to talk about this every month, and determine whether it's the right time to give Daniel Maldini a start. And I still think the answer is no. I think he'll play Krunic as a number 10 before he turns to Daniel Maldini. I just don't think he's quite ready yet. Too young, too inexperienced, and it's a crucial time of the season to be putting a lot of weight on someone who doesn't have many starts under their belt. Yeah, I mean, that'll do, boys. Yeah, thanks for joining. He's gone back over the hour mark, so you can tell that I'm host.
That's okay. I also had more than 15% talk time, so we can blame it on that.
I'll get it calculated. Yeah, that's the beauty of this, though. Sometimes it can be a party, when we've won games. This can be a really nice, positive discussion. But it can also act as group therapy. And I like to think that it's been the latter today. We've talked through the issues. We've put the world to rights. We know what's best for the club.
They should manage us as the management team, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm just coming away. I'm just coming away pissed off that we signed Ballatore.
Oh, absolutely. We'll do a separate. Is that your video for the week? Everyone should look out for that.
Give me like a separate video channel, just my Balotore weekly rants or something like that. Anyway,
you do things that you could have bought for $4.5 million. I don't know.
Definitely.
Right, yeah, I've been your host, Ollie Fisher. You can find me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher. I've been joined by Madison.
Yeah, Edward__Toth.
And Steph.
Balor_Torre fan club. Yeah, you see it down there. Great to join you guys.
Put it in the description, won't we? Yeah, check out our newsletter. Subscribe to that if you haven't already. The link's on our Twitter, or you can go to Substack and search our name. We'll have some reaction to what's happened over the weekend and what's to come through that. Check out the website as always. Like, comment, subscribe. Yeah, thank you if you made it this far. It's been a pleasure, and we will catch you in a week's time.
Eccolo Ante in area di rigore, Ante, Ibra, gol! Vediamo se è buono, ce lo dà buono, ce lo dà buono, ce lo dà buono!